choir for beautiful, beautiful music. I've been hoping we would do that for 2 years, 3 years now, and we did it. Wonderful, thank you. Oh, and a quick little plug. If you think that's beautiful, just wait till Music Sunday is coming up in May, and I'm pretty sure that Janet would like to talk to anyone here that might like to join in with the choir to sing beautiful music. But again, thank you. So our second reading for today is titled Trust by poet Thomas Smith. It's like so many other things in life to which you must say no or yes. So you take your car to the new mechanic. Sometimes the best thing to do is trust. The package left with the clerk, the check gulped up by the night deposit, the envelope passed by dozens of strangers, all show up at their intended destination. The theft that could have happened doesn't. Wind finally gets to where it's going through the snowy trees. The river, even when frozen, arrives at the right place. And sometimes you sense how faithfully your life is delivered, even though you can't read the address. In the musical Fiddler on the Roof, Tevye, the father, tells Goldie, his wife, that he has given permission for his daughter Hoddle to marry the man she loves rather than a man selected by the matchmaker, which is the tradition in that village. He then asks Goldie, "Do you love me?" Goldie's response is, "For 25 years I've washed your clothes, cooked your meals, cleaned your house, given you children, milked the cow. For 25 years I've lived with him, fought him, starved with him. 25 years my bed is his. If that's not love, I don't know what is." Now the question could have just as easily been, though perhaps not as romantic, do you trust me? Because trust is the most basic of building blocks for a relationship that has lasted as long as theirs. Do you trust me enough to live your life with me? And Goldie's answer showed that she did have deep trust for him because she had given him 25 years of her life through all sorts of challenges and hardships as he had done for her. With trust, there can be a relationship. There can be a business partnership or a friendship or love. Without trust, there will never be a relationship. As essayist M.L. Mencken once said, "It is mutual trust, even more than mutual interest, that holds human associations together." Now, I assume everyone here has had an association with a person who may have been fun to be around or was useful to get something done, but no real relationship, no emotional connection developed between you and the other person because there was something about the person that signaled to you that he or she could not be trusted. If we stop and think about it, we see that trust plays a role in almost everything we do, every day of our lives. We get into a car that is being driven by someone else. We're having a medical procedure. We're buying food at the grocery store. We turn the flame on in the furnace. We board an airplane. We propose marriage. We trust that our friends will keep on being our friends and our spouse or partner will be there for us when we need them. Since trust is the foundation of all relationships, especially love, on this Sunday before Valentine's Day, that day when we celebrate relationships, I'm going to invite us to think about this concept of trust. What is it? How does it affect other people in our lives? How do we build trust? What is the spiritual aspect of trust, and how does trust affect us? But trust is complicated because there are different kinds of trust and different levels of trust. And trust is both outward focused and inward directed, all making for a potential complex, very complex set of relationships for us to navigate. Now, trust is the conviction in the reliability, the truth, the availability, the safety, and the strength of someone or something. It is both an emotional and a logical act. Emotionally, it is where we expose our vulnerabilities to other people, believing that they will not take advantage of our openness. Logically, it is a situation or relationship where the probability of gains and losses have been weighed, and it has been concluded that the person or the situation will behave in a predictable way, and it's going to benefit us in some manner. It is more than just hoping that things will turn out all right in the end. It is a true belief, a deep belief based on evidence that the person or object or situation will come through, or that the thing will function or happen as it is expected. Now, we can classify trust as falling into two categories. There is what we can call public trust. Public trust is a kind of trust we place in other people in civic or communal situations. We expect them to behave in ways that they will not harm us. It is the kind of trust that most of us have most of the time when we step outside of our house, expecting that people will not intentionally behave in non-normal, unexpected ways, like driving on the wrong side of the street or just suddenly coming up and hitting us. It is the kind of trust in the world that enables us to function each day of our lives. The second kind of trust, upon which relationships and love are built, can be called private trust. It is when people mentally and emotionally open themselves to another in some kind of personal setting. It is what helps people overcome obstacles and makes them feel safe. This is the trust that permits intimacy and love, intimacy to develop. It is a trust that helps us heal when we've been hurt. This is the trust that is at the core of all the loves that we celebrate on St. Valentine's Day. Now, intimate relationships are contingent upon honesty and openness. They are built and maintained through our faith that we can believe what we are being told. And we each open ourselves in trust in different ways, though. Some of us are quick to accept another person and open ourselves to them easily, somehow expecting that they're just going to be reliable people. Others of us hold back our judgment, carefully checking out the other person and taking time to decide if we really want to trust them. Now, neither way is right or more right than the other. They just reflect how all of us are different and how we approach life and trusting other people differently. As important as trust is in forming and maintaining relationships, it's interesting that as psychotherapist Cynthia Wall and developmental psychologist Erik Erikson have noted in their writings, we are not born knowing how to trust. Trust is learned and built with very small incidences over time. A building or not building trust in other people starts for us the moment we are born. We are plopped into the world where everything around us is strange and most likely very frightening. Light and sound, the sensations of hunger and wetness and pain, and being picked up and moved and handed off to lots of other people. We cry, and if that cry is answered by some sort of comforting attention, the seeds of trust are planted in our minds. As we grow older, the pattern of consistent, the operative word is consistent behavior by parents, family, and friends add to our understanding of what it means to trust or not trust others. By the time we are adults, we come to know what we must give to other people for them to trust us, and what we need to expect from other people for us to trust them. There are things that we want from others and that we can give to others that will answer the question, are you there for me, in the affirmative? To build trust, we should give and can reasonably expect open communications where people talk directly and honestly to each other. A willingness to admit mistakes and take responsibilities for our actions, not blaming other people. Listening actively to what the other person is saying and working to really hear and understand what is being said. For trust to develop and to be maintained, each party must take interest in what is happening with the other, must maintain eye contact and look at each other, at least occasionally. We and they need to be consistent in our actions and not have random, unexplainable changes in behavior or responses to a situation, not engage in deception, not engage in self-destructive behavior. And we want the other person, and we need ourselves to be comfortable and confident, comfortable around the other person, and perceptively self-confident, not arrogant, but perceptively self-confident. Now, this last condition is really important for a relationship because the stepping off point for any road to form a relationship is self-trust. Before a person can have any normal kind of relationship, and I know that I'm sort of generalizing because there are all sorts, and I know the therapists among us are probably going to tell me, going to correct me, but I know there are all sorts of contingencies and things on this. But for us to have a normal relationship, a person needs to trust themselves. When we trust ourselves, we are keeping our power as opposed to giving our power away to another. When someone does not trust themselves, they are likely to do one of two things. On the one hand, they may be susceptible to the undue influences of others. If a person does not trust their own judgment about relationship issues, they can easily get caught up in almost falling over themselves or trying to respond to another person. They lose themselves. They've given their power away to another person. On the other hand, some people who do not have good self-trust about relationship decisions sometimes swing to the opposite extreme. They become cynics about people and their behaviors. They let their inner voices get all heated up and discharge all sorts of negative ideas about how other people will behave. Not surprisingly, cynics usually cannot sustain a relationship because people can tell when they are not trusted or they're being kept at a distance. Now, the issue of building self-trust is complicated and more than I can go into this morning. But self-trust is vitally important for a relationship to succeed. Because there's also one more aspect about the issue of self-trust or of not having self-trust. A person that does not trust themselves will be unable to be confident that they are being a good partner in a relationship. They will consistently question their behavior. Am I giving too much of myself, or am I not giving enough of myself? And then they may be flip-flopping back and forth of giving too much or withdrawing. In either case, this insecurity will torpedo the relationship. So self-trust is vital for relationships to develop and continue. But giving trust to another person takes a lot of emotional energy. So why should we do it? I mean, it's not impossible to live and function without allowing ourselves to trust others. It might not be an easy life, but it is possible. So why do we want to open ourselves up? Why do we sort of are training ourselves from the moment of our birth and accepting this idea of trusting and running the risk of being harmed or hurt by trusting other people? I think the reason we want to expand the emotional energy to trust is because trust is one of the strongest spiritual places into which humans can step. And by spiritual, I mean the realm of our life that is more than just this physical moment. It is the aspect of living that deals with existential questions of meaning, purpose, and value. The capacity to trust is where we find the intersection of vulnerability and joy. Opening ourselves to trust affirms that we are not just this moment of experience. We are more than just this body. Through trust, we are connecting ourselves with people in an intimate way. Through trust, we are deliberately opening ourselves to potentialities. When we trust ourselves and when we open ourselves to trust another person, we find that we are living creatively and hopefully. And when we allow ourselves to trust, we recognize that life, even if there is moments of darkness and suffering, can continue to have meaning and beauty. Trust is a potentially very deep emotion. It can cause great sorrow when trust is broken or when we do something to break trust with another person. But trust can bring us joy and mental comfort rather than anxiety or uncertainty. Now, it may sound hokey to say that trusting can give us joy, but just think about how pleasant life is when we are around people, our spouse, our partner, our lover, our friends, our colleagues who we trust, and how tension-filled life is to be around people we do not trust. Opening ourselves to trust, even though it may sometimes be very hard, can open us to great joy in living. So perhaps, as we get ready for Valentine's Day and our celebration of love and friendship, with our boxes of candy and our bouquet of flowers, our nice dinners, our pieces of jewelry, a diamond ring is actually very nice, though I like emeralds. Hint. My partner's back here, so that's why. No. So as we get ready to celebrate Valentine's Day, we may want to just take a few moments to look at our trust behaviors. You know what I'm talking about and what I've been talking about. Open communication, active listening, eye contact, consistency, honesty. And be sure that we are working hard to maintain this beautiful thing called trust in our relationships. So be it. Amen.